right, hello and welcome to another Expert Insight interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Sid Bharath, who is in Vancouver, Canada. How are you doing, Sid?
Hey, John. I'm doing great. It's a nice day here, and thank you for having me on the show.
Of course, of course. And you are the founder of Refound, an AI consultancy that helps mid-market companies become truly AI native. You have a background spanning top-tier consulting, startup growth roles, AI venture building, and early stage language model experimentation to your previous company, Baraka. You also work hands-on with leadership teams to audit workflows, uncover high-impact use cases, and deploy phased adoption strategies that actually deliver measurable results. Uh, so let's start off with, obviously companies are trying to do AI initiatives right now.
Mhm.
But what is, but a lot of those initiatives are failing, not because of the technology, not because of the capabilities, but really they think they confuse. I think companies confuse strategy with just implementing or adopting.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I think like a lot of the failure is coming from the lack of preparedness for the team, right?
Mhm.
So what these companies are doing is they're saying, "Oh, let's do like this big AI project and let's change everything," but there's no change management after that
Mm.
to help the team figure out how to use this new process, this new AI tool. Because when you're building these AI systems, you're changing the way people work essentially, right?
Mhm.
And you have to prepare them for a new way of working. If you think about AI as sort of like an intelligent entity
Yep.
that can do a certain thing, and and these humans who are working at the companies need to realize how to interact with this thing, which is very different from how you interact with other humans at a company or
Mm.
your like regular software.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. Is that people need to start making the leap from like legacy or traditional software and how you interact with it and all of that to how you engage, as you said, how you engage with AI. And I think there's another issue too. Is a lot of companies just take AI and they try and overlay it onto their current processes, their current way of working, and like you said, that's not the right approach.
No, that's not the right approach, right? Because like, what is AI is a newer way of working, and so what's the point of just overlaying it on top of a process that's probably broken in the first place, right? Because you're then just accelerating a broken process. And
Mhm.
so the right approach is to really deeply understand what that process is, and sort of we call it unbundling and rebundling. So we unbundle it into its component tasks, and then we put it back together with like AI at the core taking over some of those tasks.
Hmm. So what are the when somebody runs a successful AI, implementation or a strategy within the company, what does that look like?
So the first thing, it always starts with just like a full assessment of the current state, right?
Hmm.
And that's kind of what we do. We start off with what we call an AI audit, where we come in and we look at your entire operations across the company, or maybe just start with a few specific departments and map out how they currently work. And then we look at like what's broken, what's taking too long, what's manual, what's repetitive, all of that, where the friction points are, and then we try to like solve those with AI using AI
Hmm.
agents or AI automations, right, to eliminate those frictions. So the process is really first current state situation, and then okay, what is the ideal future state where you've baked AI into it versus just putting it on top.
Hmm.
And then finally, of course, is the deployment and change management. So like as you build it out, you do it in phases, you do it slowly over time, and you train people to start using it, working the
Hmm.
new way.
Yeah. And and a lot of people, right, have, I mean, their first taste of AI is, they when they do ChatGPT and all that or whatever, and they use it as a replacement for Google search or whatever, and they
Mhm.
still put in old strings and all that kind of stuff. So but really understanding what AI is, and how AI can help you, and things like Claude Cowork and all of that takes, as you said, that takes change management for people. And I think I mean, do you come across this? I mean, there's a certain reluctance right now, or maybe not just a reluctance on the behalf of people, but they can't make that intellectual leap to a different way of working.
That's correct. Yes, we do. We do see that, right? it's difficult to sort of make that leap, especially if you're just like trying to do it like you're starting today. If you're coming from like ChatGPT as sort of a Google search replacement, which
Yeah.
is the most like basic use case of AI,
Mhm.
right? It's honestly, it's not even really using
Yeah.
AI.
Mhm.
To a completely new way of working and thinking about AI, it's very hard to make that leap very quickly. Obviously, I've had many years in this space, so
Yeah.
I've taken my time to do that over the years and months. But for most people, it's going to be hard, and so like that's part of our role is also, even at the start when we start with those audits, is hey, there's going to be a new way of working. Let's slowly sort of like introduce you to it without forcing you to change everything, and then kind of go from there.
And the other probably challenge that you come across sometimes is people like to hang on to things that they're either they know how to do, they're used to doing, maybe they even like doing, I don't know, but
Yeah.
and now you may be coming along and say 90% of those things can actually be done better by AI. So now we're going to have to change what you do and how you how is that conversation? Because that's the really hard part for people when they realize that a lot of their job, especially if it's task driven, can be done
Mhm.
better by AI 24/7 than they do. So now they have to start thinking about what do I do above this?
100%. And that's actually a question that we asked them during those initial audit interviews. We start off by saying, hey, what do you want to be doing that you just haven't had time to do because you're
Mhm.
caught up with a lot of busy work or admin work, but stuff that you don't want to be doing, right? So we look at what are you doing right now? Which of this do you not want to be doing? And what are the things that you aren't doing that you do want to be doing?
Mhm.
So if AI takes over, like, say, even 90% of what you're doing right now, which you don't want to do, that frees up your time to start doing things that you're more interested in, like picking up a new skill or moving into a new role or whatever, right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the other part too is like looking, as you said, looking at AI as an intelligent entity. I mean, personally, I look at it now as I feel like I have 20 PhDs working for me, but those PhDs have 40 years business experience.
Yeah.
So I get, and so I'm feeling like I've got all access to these fantastic minds, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of how you have to approach it, is just, as you said, to start thinking of it as an intelligent entity and one that you interact and communicate on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is like these, maybe around like, I'd say 4 to 5 months ago, there was a step improvement in these models to be able to autonomously perform tasks.
Yeah.
So they became way more agentic. They've been agentic for about a year or more than a year. But like, the reason Claude Cowork works so well today is because you can, the AI can not just tell you the answers, but actually do the thing for you, right? It
Hmm.
can go and write that document or send an email, or book a thing, and a hotel or whatever, right? And so to go from ChatGPT just tells me answers and I go do it to actually the AI also does the thing for me.
Yeah.
That's a huge shift.
No, it absolutely is, and for people who haven't tried things like Claude Cowork, I mean, you really ought to try them out. I mean, it's
Oh yeah,
great. It's fantastic what you can do. I have now all my administrative work now is taken care of by Cloud Code or by Cloud Cowork.
yeah,
I got it all. I don't waste any more time on stuff like that. And I think, yeah, that's the leap as well. Is it's not just people. It's not just a chat bot. Like, and that's what people still sometimes think of AI as, like, oh, it's a chat window. Saying
yeah,
no, it's as you said, an intelligent entity, but it's also and it can work autonomously, like you said. So that again,
yeah.
you have to rethink your approach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think like when you use ChatGPT, it's often like people use it the opposite way that's supposed to be used, or
Mhm.
like people use AI the opposite way, where ChatGPT is doing the thinking and telling you the human what to do, and you the
Mhm.
human are going doing it.
Yeah,
It should be the other way around. You should be doing the thinking, and you should tell the AI what to do. The AI should go and do it. And like to your point, right? When you use Claude Cowork, I use Claude Code, but I built myself a sort of Claude Cowork kind of environment in my Claude Code, which I
yeah,
call Jarvis. And Jarvis has access to my email, my calendar, my Drive, my projects, my clients. And so I'm just sitting there telling Jarvis, hey, can you pull up the latest information for XYZ client? Can you write up the proposal and make sure to include this? Can you build out a full spec and send that to a developer? Can you check the work in GitHub? Can you update our website with a case study? Like I'm just telling him what to do and how to do it, and it's going and doing it.
yeah. And I think that's and exactly, and that's you're becoming the orchestrator rather than the doer.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as you probably come across, I mean, when you work with companies, how often do they approach it as a technology first project?
I think pretty much all companies are approaching it as a technology first project, and then our part of well our work is to educate the companies and say that, hey, look, there's a lot of change management, and we as we talk when we do the discovery, that part of what the services we offer is that piece as
Mm,
well. So it's
right.
all like part of the whole thing.
And then the ownership thing, because that's it. If people think of it as a technology project, then they're just going to, they're going to say, oh yeah, well, IT are going to lead the AI, right? But I mean, that's not the, as you said, I mean, that's not the right approach either, because the ownership needs to be at a strategic level and understand what the capabilities are and what you're actually looking to do, not just, you're not implementing another software.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to come from the C-suite. And I think like if you are a company that's serious about AI transformation and becoming AI native and working at a much higher level, then it has to come from the leadership. They have to be the ones who are exploring these technologies and trying it out themselves and exploring a new way of working. And only then would it trickle out to the rest of the organization. And then, of course, like if you want to bring a consultancy like mine on,
Mhm.
then we help you trickle it out and get the rest of the workforce on board.
Yeah, and one of the things is like, I mean, so it sounds great. Say it sounds great to your company. Oh, great, we're going to automate workflows. We're going to do this and all of that. But the starting point is like, how well defined are your workflows to begin with? How well defined are your processes?
Yeah,
And the second part of that is like, how clean is your data?
exactly. And it's often not, well defined or clean. But again, that's kind of the reason why we start with that audit is
Yeah.
part of that audit is us also just like trying to define it for you as we interview everyone and really understand what are the SOPs and ways of working. And then we dig into some of like the tools you're using, the data you have, and then we can sort of work with that as a baseline to then clean it up and get it
Mhm.
prepared, ready, and then build agents on top of it.
Mm. So do you think most organizations, that the most of them realize how clean data is so critical if they're going to implement any AI that works off of their data sets? Because I think so. I think people sometimes don't realize how messed up their data is. It's accumulated over many years, and they probably haven't done regular hygiene.
Yeah, no, I don't think many companies realize that, right? And like the reason they've never really prioritized pruning and cleaning the data or maintaining it over time is because there was no need to, right? There's
Right.
you just like have all this data accumulated, and then you build your things on top of it, and then you have many people who are just going and searching and like doing all of that work. So that's fine. But now that you have AI that can do all of that to you, now it's suddenly becoming a priority, right? And so um, at the same time, I don't think like you need to uh, spend or like do a massive project of data
Mhm.
cleanup and months of it before you can start implementing it. I think you can do it in parallel.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you help them actually once it's implemented, once you've done implemented, is to make sure that it's used properly, reinforced, that they kick on from there and they don't just like stagnate or maybe go backwards.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's like that part is again part of that change management and really training people on how to use it, sort of observing and monitoring the usage of these AI initiatives. This is kind of also why we like to do it in a phased approach instead of
Yeah.
like massive project upfront, deliver everything, and then step back. It's like let's do phase one, let's get people using it. Let's see how it works. Let's collect feedback. Let's iterate on it. Then we can go to phase two
Mhm.
and phase three and so on.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
when you do those audits, I know it's different for every company, but what are some of the typical things that come up during an audit that you have to address?
Yeah, it differs for every company as well as every department, right? So we may do
Mhm.
an audit for an HR team versus a marketing team
Mhm.
versus operations, right? Um, Typically, in general, what's coming up is that there's a lot of like admin work happening, like a lot of make work,
Yeah.
where the person, say a salesperson, is doing more of that versus getting on sales calls, or a
Mhm.
marketing person is doing more of that versus actually creating a marketing campaign or a strategy, right?
Mhm.
um, and so a lot of that tends to be opening up multiple apps and dashboards and trying to create um, uh, reports or presentations or copying data from one place to another or downloading CSVs and So a lot of that kind of work, right? It takes a lot of time. It's even like it's sometimes very frustrating and boring that it's like mentally taxing,
Hmm.
and it sort of gets drains your energy, and you don't have energy to focus on something creative or strategic. So there's a lot of that kind of work.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that some people are going to struggle with letting go, because some people love to get caught up in all those details and doing things themselves and everything. And I think that's going to be a challenge for some people, when you have to say, yeah, could you, it's like the presentation or whatever, could you improve that yourself? Yeah, probably. What's the value in you spending time doing that? If
Exactly.
the AI can produce something that's, that's good and works and stuff, why would you waste time on just tinkering on the margins?
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if like, you know, presentation design is not your core skill, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're a salesperson and you're working on
Mhm.
creating presentations, and
Yeah.
like it's a mismatch of your skills, and
Mhm.
probably not something that you're interested in doing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even if you are, I mean, it's a waste of your time, is like
Yeah.
improving something that's not going to give you any real
Yeah.
return at the
Yeah.
end of the day. So yeah, so when you go in, I presume you identify either the highest impact, the lowest hanging fruit, those kind of areas to kind of show and demonstrate what it can do.
Absolutely, yeah. We identify kind of like all of those friction points, the manual work, the repetitive, unautomated work, and we try to like quantify how it could help. Like if go back to the salesperson spending time on presentations, and what we can say is, okay, this person spends like 5 hours a week on
Mhm.
presentation, but she could have been spent on leads or
Mhm.
on sales calls, right? And so
Yeah.
like there's 5 hours more worth of sales calls that you could have been doing. That's the lift you get if you automate this kind of thing, right? And so yeah.
Mhm. No, absolutely. I mean, for the rest of 2006, like going into 2027, where do you see some of the mistakes that companies might potentially make with AI as things get more complex?
Yeah, I think like maybe the biggest mistake is just um, not really trying to figure out that core AI operating model, like the way you would work with AI,
Mhm.
and instead of like rebuilding and redesigning, that's why we're called Refound. We got to refound your business with AI at the core.
Mm,
Instead of
mm,
doing that, the biggest mistake is just like buying a bunch of AI tools, or telling you, hey, yeah, just like use all these AI tools, but not
mhm.
really figuring out like,
Yeah,
are you just like adding AI on top of a broken process or not, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I think that is the thing, and I think that's going to I think it's going to redefine in a lot of ways how a lot of companies operate, because I think they're going to discover there's a lot of stuff that's going on that either they don't need to be doing, or that AI can do much more efficiently. And then they'll be like, well, that kind of changes as you said, the refund changes the whole approach to the business. And I think that's the probably the key, is that when you get into this, is that you understand this is transformational. It's not additive, really.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it is something that is going to change the way you operate, the way businesses work, and if you don't do it,
Mhm.
your competitors will do it, and they'll like be way ahead of you in the market.
Mm. So what's your prediction for the near term future? What do you think? What do you think? How do you think your work's going to go? Like, what are people going to need from you?
I think a lot of companies will start to understand that there's this new way of working
Mhm.
agentically.
Yep.
And we're seeing some of the early versions of this happening with Claude Cowork, with OpenClaw,
Hmm.
and like I think like obviously OpenAI acquired them so that they could build out that suite of tools. So like every big major model company is going to try and build these like agentic tooling, and then of course every other company that's coming out of Y Combinator or a funded startup right now is an AI agent in a box, right?
Yeah.
Within a certain vertical. So um, I think like the products and technology is already there, and it's going to take some time for companies to start realizing this and adapting and figuring it out. And so for the next year or two, there's going to be a lot of companies really looking into their own process, trying to identify how it should change to turn into an agentic workflow. Um, yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, because I mean, I think there's so much stuff happening, and it's happening so quickly that it's going to be hard for companies to keep up and really kind of to separate what they should be doing from what sounds like. Because let's face it, there's a lot of shiny new toys out there. I mean, I think probably the thing that's happening most in email right now is probably people in text or whatever. It's people forwarding, oh, here's a new AI tool. Have you seen this one? Have you seen that one? And I think that's where people like you are going to be kind of critical, because there's no way like most people in companies with their day job can be assessing which tool is correct and which tool is the right one. Plus,
Yeah.
Plus, you need some control over the tools.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's there's so much happening. The space changes so quickly. Things happen like agentic AI is like a thing only in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for people who are working at the day job to really like figure this out or keep up, right? And it's not their job, right? So that's
Yeah.
fine. Like if you haven't been able to figure it out or keep up, that's totally fine. You have to like operate as a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where kind of like firms like us come in, where we can help you figure that out.
Yeah. And even when you get to things like MCP server and all of that kind of stuff, now you're getting into where you have to, again, like rethink your business, because I mean, this is allowing you to do so much more and moving beyond traditional connectors and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like all of these new concepts of like MCPs, agent skills, like agent to agent interaction. These are all very new concepts, right? And yeah, it's not easy to like just grok in a day.
Yeah, I know. That's the agent to agent is going to be very interesting as that unfolds, when an agent, that you're using is interacting with an agent from a different company or whatever. Like that's going to be very interesting to watch that unfold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm still not even sure how that's going to work. And when we build agents, it's all within sort of a company's environment and data and infrastructure. But yeah, how that works with like other agents is going to be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Sid. That's very fascinating insight. All of Sid's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about you and Refound.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This was a great conversation. And like I said, Refound helps businesses become AI native. And so if you need help really trying to figure out what's happening, even if you don't know where to start, we can help you with that, with the AI audit, mapping out your current state, and then building an AI roadmap for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I encourage you to go to check out Sid and Refound. This stuff is not stuff you really want to do on your own, or you really want to be just experimenting with on your own, because it's getting way too complicated. And as you said, you could spin your wheels, you could do a lot of stuff implementing tools, and it could even have a detrimental impact on your business if you don't have a good strategy behind it.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, we'd love to help you out if you're in that situation.
All right, fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again, Sid. Thank you for watching and listening, and I will see you all again soon.